Forging a genuine connection with a woman, whether you're on a date, meeting her at a social gathering, or chatting at a bar, requires much more than just small talk. It's about sparking a true sense of excitement and intrigue, creating those moments where she can't help but feel a flutter of anticipation, and cultivating an environment where she's eagerly waiting for you to take the next step. Many men often wonder, what should I talk about to ensure she feels that attraction and wants to see me again? We've all been on dates where everything seems pleasant, but the spark just isn't there. Contrary to popular belief, chemistry isn't some mystical, hard-to-grasp force. In fact, a significant portion of it, around 75%, comes down to what you say and how you deliver it. The way you present yourself and your words is crucial. The first concept to grasp is understanding that chemistry isn't something that just happens. It's something you actively create. As a man, you play a pivotal role in setting the tone. Chemistry is that effortless flow you feel when everything just clicks between you and a woman, almost as if there's an invisible electric charge in the air. It's your role to lead her into that space where she feels comfortable and intrigued. True chemistry occurs when you fully embrace your masculine energy, allowing her to comfortably rest in her feminine energy. Too often, men fall into the trap of mirroring a woman's actions, waiting for her to make the first move or send clear signals before they respond. But here's the key. Masculinity isn't passive. It's about taking the lead, being the one who initiates the interaction and guides it. You can't just sit back and hope that chemistry will magically appear. You need to be proactive in creating it. When a man takes the lead, whether by being the first to flirt, initiating a deeper conversation, or setting the tone, he creates a dynamic where the woman can respond naturally. If she has to take the lead or steer the conversation, she's forced into a more masculine role, which can make it difficult for her to feel that spark of attraction. The first principle is to confidently embrace your masculine role and take charge of the interaction. But leading isn't just about steering the conversation wherever you please, it's about guiding it in a way that creates a meaningful and memorable experience. To achieve this, there are 3 core elements that I refer to as the chemistry equation. These elements are essential in transforming a simple interaction into something that leaves a lasting impression. Let's dive into these elements, fun, connection, and intimacy, and explore how you can effectively use them to build a strong and lasting connection. Fun, setting the stage for playfulness. The first element, fun, is all about creating a light-hearted and enjoyable atmosphere. This doesn't mean you have to be a stand-up comedian, but it does mean that the interaction should be lively and engaging. Think of those moments when you're both smiling, sharing a laugh, and genuinely enjoying each other's company. Fun is the difference between a conversation that feels like an interview and one that feels like a playful, engaging exchange. For example, playful teasing is a great way to inject fun into the conversation. If she says something cheeky or playful, don't hesitate to respond in kind. A little back and forth banter can create a dynamic where she feels comfortable letting her guard down and being herself. This isn't about trying too hard to be funny. It's about creating moments that are enjoyable and memorable. Imagine you're talking to her and she mentions something quirky about herself. Instead of just nodding and moving on, you could playfully tease her about it, saying something like, "You spent a lot of time in the library, didn't you?" It's light-hearted and shows that you're paying attention to what she's saying. Connection, going beyond the surface. The next element, connection, is where the conversation shifts from light-hearted banter to something more meaningful. This isn't about surface-level commonalities like favourite TV shows or vacation spots. It's about sharing experiences that create an emotional bond. Real connection happens when you share stories or experiences that evoke emotions and encourage her to open up as well. For instance, instead of just talking about places you've both visited, share a story about a time when you visited a place and had an unexpected experience. Maybe you built up this perfect image of a place in your mind, only to be met with something entirely different when you got there. Sharing these kinds of experiences invites her to relate on a deeper emotional level, even if she hasn't had the exact same experience. When you're able to connect emotionally, the conversation naturally becomes more engaging and memorable. She starts to see you as someone who understands her on a deeper level, which is essential for building a strong attraction. Intimacy, creating a sense of exclusivity. The final element, intimacy, is about introducing a sense of closeness and exclusivity into the conversation. This is where you make it clear that this isn't just a platonic interaction. Intimacy can be created through both your words and your actions. It's about subtly shifting the conversation into a more personal and slightly flirtatious space. For example, you might compliment her in a way that makes it clear you're interested in her as more than just a friend. Instead of a generic compliment, say something like, "That perfume you're wearing is really distracting me. I can't stop thinking about it." It's a compliment that goes beyond the surface and introduces a level of attraction into the conversation. Another way to introduce intimacy is through playful, slightly edgy teasing. If she's playfully teasing you, you might respond with something like, "If you keep that up, I'm going to have to spank you." It's the kind of comment that adds a bit of sexual tension to the conversation without being overtly inappropriate. Intimacy is also about physical cues, like maintaining eye contact a little longer, touching her hand during the conversation, or leaning in slightly when you're talking. These small actions help create a sense of closeness and attraction. Balancing the elements, the chemistry equation. To truly create chemistry, you need to balance all three elements: fun, connection, and intimacy. Focusing too much on one while neglecting the others can lead to an imbalance that diminishes the overall attraction. For example, if you're great at making her laugh but fail to create a deeper connection or introduce intimacy, she might walk away thinking you're fun but not necessarily someone she's attracted to on a deeper level. On the other hand, if you're great at connecting emotionally but don't bring enough fun or intimacy into the conversation, you might end up in the friend zone. She'll see you as a nice guy, but not necessarily someone she wants to pursue romantically. Lastly, if you focus too much on intimacy without establishing a connection or having fun, you might create sexual tension, but it will be hard to sustain her interest beyond that initial interaction. The key to creating lasting chemistry is to blend these three elements seamlessly. Be the one to lead the conversation into fun, meaningful, and intimate territories. This blend ensures that she feels a well-rounded attraction towards you, making her excited for future interactions. Practical tips: building your toolkit. Now that you understand the core elements of the chemistry equation, let's talk about how you can put them into practice. One of the challenges men often face is knowing what to say in the moment. It's easy to get stuck in a conversation loop where you're not sure how to transition or what to bring up next. A great way to prepare is by building a mental toolkit of topics, stories, and lines that fit into the three elements. For example, think of some playful teasing lines that you can use to inject fun into the conversation. It's important to tailor these to the situation and the woman you're talking to, but having a few go-to lines can help keep the conversation lively. For connection, think about stories or experiences that have resonated well with others in the past. These could be childhood stories, experiences from your travels, or even funny or challenging moments from your past. The key is to focus on stories that evoke an emotional response and invite her to share her own experiences. When it comes to intimacy, consider ways you can subtly introduce flirtation into the conversation. This could be through compliments, playful teasing, or even sharing a story that has a bit of an edge to it. The goal is to create a sense of attraction and closeness without coming on too strong. Transitioning between elements. Keeping the conversation flowing. One of the most important skills in creating chemistry is knowing how to transition between these elements smoothly. You don't want to get stuck in one mode for too long, as it can make the conversation feel one-dimensional. Instead, think of the conversation as a dance, where you're leading her through different steps and creating a dynamic interaction. For example, if you've been having a playful and fun conversation, you might transition into a deeper connection by sharing a personal story or asking her about an experience that's meaningful to her. If the conversation has been serious for a while, you might lighten the mood with a bit of playful teasing or a humorous anecdote. The key is to stay aware of the flow of the conversation and be ready to steer it in the direction that will keep it engaging and dynamic. This is where being in tune with her reactions and responses becomes crucial. Pay attention to her body language, tone of voice, and the energy she's bringing to the conversation. Use these cues to guide your transitions and keep the chemistry alive. Advanced techniques, mastering the art of conversation. As you become more comfortable with the basics of the chemistry equation, you can start to experiment with more advanced techniques. This might include deeper storytelling, where you share more personal or vulnerable experiences that invite her to do the same. Or you might experiment with different forms of teasing, using a mix of playful and slightly edgy comments to keep the interaction exciting. Another advanced technique is creating moments of tension and release in the conversation. This could be through building up a playful argument and then resolving it in a way that brings you closer together. Or it could involve a moment of serious conversation followed by a light-hearted joke that breaks the tension. These techniques require a deeper understanding of social dynamics and a strong sense of timing, but when done well, they can significantly enhance the chemistry between you and the woman you're talking to. Conclusion: making chemistry work for you. Ultimately, creating chemistry with a woman isn't about luck or chance. It's about understanding the elements that contribute to attraction and knowing how to use them effectively. By focusing on fun, connection, and intimacy, and learning to balance these elements in your conversations, you can create a dynamic where she feels a genuine, lasting attraction towards you. Remember, chemistry is something you create, not something you wait for. It's about leading the conversation, being aware of the flow, and knowing how to engage her on multiple levels. When you master this, you'll find that creating chemistry becomes almost second nature, and you'll be able to build meaningful connections with the women you meet.